On the line, we have a special guest, Hall of Fame quarterback, good old number 10, Fran Tarkenton.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Fran, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
And before we get to your book, I want to talk about that, but I'd like to take a few minutes for our listeners, if we can, to kind of reflect back on your career, which was an unbelievable career. And go ahead and feel free to interject at any time.
Well, my career started playing against the Chicago Bears. Minnesota's first game ever was in September of '61. We were a new franchise team. Unlike today's franchise teams, we had no draft privileges, no free agency. We got to get 6 players from, the other teams of the league froze their 34 top players, and we got to pick 3 of their bottom 6. We played 5 exhibition games. We're bludgeoning all 5 of them, including the Bears beat us about 40-0. We opened with the Bears in Minneapolis. No expansion team had ever won their first year, much less their first game. And, of course, in 1961, the Bears were the team. They were the most dominant team in pro football history up to then. George Halas was the founder of the National Football League. He was the Bears owner, general manager, and head coach. And we beat them 37-13 in our first inaugural game, which is a historic game. And so all my stuff started right there, and my scrambling started right there. What I was doing is back and forth across the field. I would buy 10 seconds, 15 seconds, as much as 20 seconds before I actually threw the ball, and I did it by running back and forth across the field. And, it was kind of, nobody has ever played like that. Not that they didn't play better or worse. Nobody ever played like that. I just felt that if my protection broke down, I wasn't going to give up on the play. I was going to keep the play alive, and I did. And so that's where scrambling came from. But I also, I don't remember ever losing a fumble on a scramble. I didn't get caught very many times behind the line of scrimmage on a scramble. But what it did, it bought time for me to throw the ball. And again, nobody since before or after has done that type of thing. They've scrambled a little bit, but nothing like what I did. And every time I see the clips, it amazes me, but it works. And when I finished playing football, I set all the passing records. And when I broke all the records, and when I retired, and then they stood for about 15 years before Marino broke my records, most people were surprised that I held the records because they looked at me strictly as a scrambler, not as a passer. I rushed for more yards than any quarterback, but what they didn't add up, I went east to west, probably more than any quarterback that's ever lived. So that's my career.
Now, Fred, didn't you butt heads? I thought I read somewhere you butted heads with your coach, Norm Van Brocklin, over your running.
Oh, no. Norm Van Brocklin butted heads with every human being he interfaced with. He was an angry man. And did I enjoy playing for him? I did not. He was my first coach, played for him my first 6 years, and then basically told him I couldn't play for him anymore. And after I did that, they fired him and asked me to come back. I said, no, he was your coach, and that was your choice. And so they traded me to the New York Giants. I played there for 5 years, came back to Minnesota, and played my last 7 years, and we went to 3 Super Bowls. Should have gone to a 4th straight Super Bowl, but the Hail Mary pass in 1975 from Staubach to Drew Pearson, kept us out of that.
So you're a Southern boy. You're born in Richmond, Virginia, in 1940s.
Yeah.
You attended University of Georgia.
I did. Well, I moved to Athens when I was about 10 years old. So I already grew up in Athens, across the street from the Georgia Bulldogs, and I went to school there, played there, and then got drafted by the Vikings.
Now, Fran, did you have any other offers? You went to Georgia. Was there any other offers on the table?
Oh, yeah. I got offers from everybody. Probably there wasn't a team in the South that didn't offer me a scholarship. But I really thought about going away from home. I almost went to Georgia Tech, but I didn't, thank God. I woke up in time. So I went over there, and when I went to Georgia, their program had been really not very good for about 7-8 years, and but we got it turned around, and we won the SEC championship in '59. We won the Orange Bowl in '59. We only lost one game and finished up number 2 or 3 in the nation.
I'm going to throw some numbers at you, Fran. And when we were doing the research, these numbers just were kind of eye-popping. An 18-year NFL career, a 9-time Pro Bowler, including a Pro Bowl MVP under your belt, 1975 NFL MVP. Talk a little bit about that 75 season.
Well, I was 35 years old in '75. We had a great team. I think we were number 1 in offense and number 2 in defense, and that's probably the best team that we had. And that's when we, I think we won all but 2 games and had Dallas totally beat. And by some miracle at the end of the game, it wasn't just a Hail Mary pass. They won a game that we had no business of losing. They had no business of winning, but it just happened. But it was a great team. We had great teams all through that time, but they won't be recognized as that. Although we went to, we were in 4 of the first 11 Super Bowls, didn't win any of them, so the teams are not remembered. But if we'd have won 1 or 2, our teams would have been remembered as up there with the Steelers and the Dolphins and all the great teams of that era.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You led the Vikings to 3 Super Bowl appearances in the 70s, like you said, almost a 4th there. You accounted for over 50,000 total yards, both passing and rushing, 374 touchdowns, 342 passing, 32 rushing. And, for your career, you still average over 5 yards a carry. That's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, and those records have held up. I mean, I don't hold them anymore, but if you go back and look at the great quarterbacks that held those records, they held them for 5 or 6 years. But I held mine for about 15. And even now, when you look at most victories by a quarterback, I think I'm still 5th. I think I'm still 3rd or 4th in touchdown passes.
Right.
I think Peyton just went by me. I think I'm 4th now in touchdown passes.
Yeah.
And I haven't played in 31 years, and I'm probably I know I'm the only one from my era that stays in the top rankings, and I'm proud of it. By putting up those numbers, it helped my teams be better. That's what it meant, and so I'm very proud of the numbers, and I'm proud of the way that they held up, and I enjoyed my career.
You were inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 1986, and of course, Coach Bud Grant called you the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
He had no choice; he had to call me that. But, when people talk about greatest of any position, and it's impossible to do that. I played well my years. Of course, there have been many Unitas and Y.A. Tittle, and right there in Chicago, one of my great friends was one of the great quarterbacks ever, Sid Luckman, and he was a classy gentleman, and I love Sid Luckman, and then you go to the modern day era, or the Elways and the Montanas and just a lot of great players, and it's hard to say who was the best at any particular time. Most of the time, we judge the best on how many Super Bowls that they got, the teams they were on winning, and I think that's an unfair look at it, but that's just the way it is.